dealing with the aftermath of yesterday's bridge collapse near Fort Frances. Good evening and thank you for joining us. An investigation is underway after the railway bridge collapse in Fort Frances yesterday.
CN crews are looking into the incident and repairs have already begun. Nev Van Pelt joins us in studio. Nev, what updates do you have on the severity of the situation?
Ryan, fortunately, no one was in the water when the collapse happened and there were no injuries. It was also confirmed that no trains were involved in the incident as crews look into the cause. Photos posted online show the Rainy River lift bridge collapsed on top of the railway tracks Wednesday on the Canadian side of Sand Bay. The cause for the collapse is still under investigation, with boaters unable to pass. Fort Frances Fire Chief Dave Robertson provided an update on the situation.
We're obviously watching it closely, especially in terms of how it affects quality of life and the citizenry of the town of Fort Frances. That's what we're charged with. This is our job. So we're obviously still very concerned about that. But I think we're kind of sitting back and trying to see what the CN engineering group's gonna say and want to do, and what requests they may have of Transport Canada as it affects the waterway moving forward.
Fortunately, there were no injuries, and a hazmat situation was ruled out. Chief Robertson and 3 firefighters responded to the incident to provide emergency lighting to the bridge and warn boaters. The bridge will be out of operation for a long time now, but Chief Robertson says this shouldn't have a big impact.
I do understand that its impact will be somewhat minimal for recreational boaters. In terms of rail crossing and commercial rail crossing, I understand that this is actually a secondary crossing, and it's a distant second to I think it's the Rainy River Causeway, the one that crosses the international border.
CN has not made themselves available for an interview, but Chief Robertson confirmed that repairs have begun. Nev Van Pelt, TBT News.
Atikokan OPP are investigating a suspicious residential fire that broke out yesterday. Around 8:30 p.m., OPP officers from the Atikokan detachment responded to the Star Street area of town to find the structure fully engulfed in flames. The fire completely destroyed the residence and damaged both adjacent buildings. Anyone with information about the suspicious blaze is asked to contact OPP or Crime Stoppers.
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue has to respond to a wide range of calls, meaning crews need to be prepared for anything.
That makes training for whatever may come their way important for the safety of all Thunder Bay residents. That's what Vasilios Bellos found when touring some of the local stations and learned what it takes to be a firefighter.
It's the emergency service that's often first on scene. Members of Thunder Bay Fire Rescue are constantly at the ready to respond to any serious incidents in the community. TBT News was provided an opportunity to tour a few of the 8 stations in the city, which is a home away from home for firefighters when on shift.
It's hard to expect what you're going to run into.
Division Chief of Training Peter Werwoda says while they respond to a wide range of calls, people naturally think of the response to structural fires. Werwoda says those are only becoming more challenging in recent years.
Plasma TVs and children's toys, they're all made of plastics. The fuel load is essentially number 2 diesel fuel. Where back 30 years ago, a fire might take 24 to 30 minutes to reach flashover, roughly 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Today's fuel packages will likely reach flashover in 3 to 4 minutes.
Now, members of Thunder Bay Fire Rescue have to be able to spring into action quickly to respond to a wide variety of calls which have expanded over the past few years.
Everything from medical calls to auto accidents, auto extrication calls, obviously fires, automatic alarms, high-rise fires, but also rescue calls.
Werwoda calls some events high risk, low frequency, meaning they don't happen often, but can be devastating when they do, making training all the more important. As a result, being able to respond in just a few minutes could be life-saving. No easy task when having to put on over 100 pounds of equipment. The high number of calls can be an adjustment for newer recruits, including Andrew Isidori, who's only been with Thunder Bay Fire Rescue since March after working in a rural setting.
Here, being in the city, there's a lot more high rises, things that I wasn't really familiar with back down where I'm from. So there's definitely a lot more calls with that regard with being in the city like that. Definitely helps to have that relationship with the people that I'm working with here, knowing that we'll always be able to kind of have each other's back.
Well, it was a quieter night for Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. Speaking to both seasoned veterans and new recruits proved they need to be ready for anything. Having that mindset and the training to back it up ensures the safety of those across the city. Vicilios Bolos, TBT News.
The Township of Ignace has received its first payment after declaring itself willing to host the nation's nuclear waste. The $1.5 million comes from the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, even though the ultimate site has yet to be named. The payment was given in response to Ignace Council unanimously voting to be a willing host community during a special council meeting last month. This, however, isn't the final decision. The NWMO is also still considering South Bruce in southern Ontario. Ignace Outreach Lead Jake Pastori talks about the next steps.
There's one other community in northwestern Ontario, namely the Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation, who still has to undertake their own willingness and is currently doing that separately with the NWMO. So we are one piece of that puzzle. And of course, there are two communities in southern Ontario, in the South Bruce and the Saugeen First Nation, who are undertaking the exact same process.
The NWMO is expected to announce the host site for the nuclear waste repository next year.
Upsala is getting provincial support for some community upgrades.
$180,000 in funding was announced today during a visit from Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Kevin Holland. Holden Dougal was there and files this report.
An important boost for the community of Upsala. Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Kevin Holland was there announcing some funding. Local Services Board is getting $180,000 from the Northern Ontario Heritage Funds for 3 projects, including renovations at the recreational center.
Facilities like this, they're vital to smaller communities. You'd be able to have facilities like this to provide a gathering place for the residents to come together. They become the heart of the community.
The renovations include refurbishing the washrooms and a new, more accessible entrance and foyer. Project manager Jenny Veal expects the work to be done by the fall of 2025.
It's the hub of everything. So it's where I've met all of my neighbors and my friends. I've had dances and laughs and celebrations of life. It kind of covers all the gambits. And it's also our curling rink. We have a fitness facility here.
Construction is already underway on a new storage facility for community resources like maintenance equipment. The rec center and the volunteer fire department are also getting new generators to keep the power running in case of emergencies.
And that's going to just ensure that the power's on so that we can meet the needs of the community if there is a case of emergency. The other day we had a false alarm for a forest fire in the area in which I live, and the fire department was there like that. And I thought, that is an impact directly on me and my neighbors. And the community center is often used as a community hub during emergencies, such as highways being closed for many hours, etc.
Here in Upsala, Veal says the renovations will really help strengthen the community. Holden Dougal, TBT News.
The Ontario government is making changes to the way it funds $10 a day childcare.
This as many operators say they're struggling to stay afloat under the current fee structure. CTV's Janice Golding has the story.
While the province has not yet met the national $10 a day target for daycare, it says it is taking the next step in lowering childcare fees.
Today's announcement will save families in Ontario another $300 million next year.
A long-awaited new funding structure, which comes into effect on January 1st, 2025, will bring down fees for children 0 to 5 years of age, reducing the cap from $23 a day to a cap of $22, with an average cost of $19 a day. That's a drop of about 50% since the province signed an agreement with the federal government in 2022. Meanwhile, childcare operators participating in the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system, many of whom said they were struggling to keep going under the current structure, will soon be compensated in a way the province says will cover their true costs.
And what we've done by rolling out this new formula is ensuring that whether you're publicly or privately funded, that you're going to be able to run a profitable business.
The new formula will fund operators based on factors like the number of spaces they operate and the region in which they're located. Existing legacy operators will receive extra money for costs that may exceed that amount, costs that could include the provision of special food or specialized programming. Growth top-ups will also be issued for facilities that create use spaces.
So, it's pretty complex. and the devil will be in the details.
Andrea Hannon, Executive Director of the Association of Daycare Operators of Ontario, says her organization estimates about 30% of licensed childcare providers are currently facing bankruptcy. And she stresses merely replacing revenue based on fees that were frozen in 2022 will not cover the true cost of providing care, especially given pandemic price freezing.
And then when the province signed the agreement with the federal government in March of 2022, suddenly all childcare fees were frozen. So they were frozen at whatever level you had them at on that date.
The province says it's still calling on the federal government to increase funding for the program so it's sustainable for families throughout the province and to lift some restrictions on new centres opening up.
Operators in what is being called a daycare desert by operators in Peel region, for instance, in Brampton and Mississauga are very, very frustrated because they're having to turn away these for-profit businesses because of the ratio that's in place.
The province has pledged to cut childcare costs to $10 a day by March 2026. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Ontario's opposition is demanding an apology from Premier Doug Ford for making a joke that some say was disgraceful. The Premier joked about sending patients waiting for an MRI or a CT scan to a newly opened animal hospital.
By the looks of it, we know where we can send the overflow patients now for MRIs and CAT scans and everything else, so keep an extra room for some other patients.
The Liberals were outraged, insisting healthcare wait times in the province are no laughing matter.
Nearly 10,000 people died while waiting for MRIs and CT scans last year alone under the watch of Doug Ford. So against that backdrop, you don't joke that the hundreds of thousands of people who are still on the waiting list line up like animals at a veterinary clinic.
Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles weighed in as well, accusing Ford and his government of dismantling the healthcare system. The Premier's office has responded, saying the government has made record investments, increasing the healthcare budget by over 31% since 2018.
With the end of summer inching closer, so is Live on the Waterfront Summer Send-Off. The free concert series at Marina Park has been a huge hit this year, and there's only 2 weeks left. Many people made their way down to the waterfront last night to enjoy some beautiful weather and live music. Each week, the event brings locals and visiting people to music enthusiasts together to enjoy a range of musical genres. This week's concert featured a bill of Mexican folk music, country, and a mix of 70s and 80s funk. The lineup included Natalia Arroyo and Tim Albertson and Free Label. The summer send-off is now just 2 weeks away. Special events developer Karen Kadolf says it's been a special and successful year for the summer concert series.
This year has been actually really great for us. We are seeing an increase in numbers, which is really nice. The weather has played a really big piece of that too. Last year we fought with Mother Nature a little bit for that. So we've seen a lot more people out this year, and it's really nice to see. This is a free community event, so we always love when the community does come out to support it.
The next week is the final concert before the 2-day summer send-off on August 28th and 29th. The final concert will feature Choir Revolution, a traveling group that allows the audience to join in with the singers. Voting is underway on the Live on the Waterfront website to decide what song will be sung with the audience.
And with the temperatures that we've had, certainly a lot of people, I'm sure, want to get down to the marina and enjoy those breezes off the water as they take in some great music. Fiona, what do things look like in the near future for us?
Well, a little wet. A little wet and possibly a little bit cooler as well. I had said yesterday that we were going to see some rain probably by as early as noon. The rain, it's been a little bit slower in arriving, but folks, it is definitely here. It's been moving its way across. So far, it's just a narrow band that is working its way in just about to hit Thunder Bay if it hasn't already hit the south side. But as you can see, it's got a long tail and it's kind of rotating in a counterclockwise manner, this low pressure system as it pushes in. So this is where we're at this evening. You pretty much are going to have to deal with the rain at some point tonight because there is a fair amount on the way. But we did have a sunny start, mostly cloudy afternoon, a high of 26 and a humidex of 31 with winds steadily increasing throughout the afternoon. At this hour, we've got rain in Red Lake. It began just 2 hours ago. Fort Frances has had periodic rain throughout the afternoon, but right now cloudy skies, similar temperatures, 19, 18 Celsius. It starts to warm up though as you head further eastward, where they're still enjoying lots of sunshine north of Lake Superior, 25 in Armstrong, 27 in Greenstone, and a humidex of 30 at this time. Along the North Shore, well in the seasonal 20s. Sault Ste. Marie, despite mostly cloudy skies, has a humidex of 33 for much of this afternoon. At this hour, it's down to about 31, but still solidly in those 30s. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, it's going to be milder than last night. Low of 17 is expected, and that rain that's just on the edge of Thunder Bay, based on our radar map, should begin this evening, and it's probably not going to stop very much over the next 24 to 36 hours. 10 to 15 millimeters is expected tonight with winds from the southeast 20 to 30 km. So it's looking to be pretty wet for the end of the week. It's definitely going to be a little bit cooler during the day, but the temperatures aren't really going to move. It's more about just getting that rain through. Some probably much needed rain for a lot of folks. So the plan is that it moves through over the next 24 to 36 hours, and then the weekend will be great. That's what we're hoping for.
That is what we're hoping for. And yeah, Fiona, we can use the rain. Those, I noticed my lawn was a little bit crispy when I was walking on it the other day. All right, thank you very much. All right, well, some surprising news today coming out of Hollywood. It relates to the death of Friends star Matthew Perry, who died last year. That death was deemed to be accidental. Well, today we found out that police in Los Angeles have charged 5 people in connection to his death. Well, the details on that and more when your news hour continues right after the break.
If you are in the business of selling dangerous drugs, we will hold you accountable for the deaths that you cause.